What a qualifying session we just witnessed at the Hungarian GP. For the first time in 2026 Formula 1 season, Mercedes' incredible pole streak has finally come to an end. Instead, it's Lando Norris who claims his first pole position of the year, giving McLaren their biggest qualifying results of the season. Norris looked quick for the very beginning of the weekend. He finished P3 in FP2, topped the FP3, and when it matters most in Q3, he delivered a sensational lap, beating Lewis Hamilton by 12 hundredth of a second. This weekend, they brought a package, the new floor and the rear wing, which was worthy. Let's dive into the telemetry data, where this qualifying battle becomes interesting. Right from the opening corner, Lando Norris was already faster through turn 1, carrying more speed into the braking zone than Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton had actually more clipping on the straight and was braking a little later and harder in several corners. But the biggest difference came from turn 2. From turn 2 outwards, Norris simply came alive. Hamilton looked slightly off the pace through turn 3, while McLaren's superior traction and energy deployment became very clear. Norris gained significant time by deploying between turn 3 and 4, and then again through turn 5 and 6, and once more between turn 10 and 11. By the exit of turn 11, Norris had built an advantage of more than 2 tenths of a second over Hamilton. But Ferrari wasn't finished. Hamilton produced an outstanding final sector, recovering almost all of that lost time. One of the biggest reasons behind the performance was Ferrari's new Macarena Evo rear wing. The high downforce package gave the SF26 exactly what Ferrari wanted: better rear stability and much stronger traction through the final corners. In the end, however, Norris held on. Despite Hamilton's brilliant final sector, the Ferrari crossed the line just 12 hundredths of a second behind the McLaren. It was one of the closest qualifying battles we've seen all season. For a brief moment, it looked as though Lewis Hamilton was about to secure a record extending 10th Hungarian Grand Prix pole position, but Norris' sensational middle sector proved to be the difference. While Norris celebrated pole position, his teammate Oscar Piastri endured a much more frustrating afternoon. The Australian had already been on back foot after missing FP1 and admitted he struggled to find confidence through the weekend. Then, on his final Q3 run, his lap was effectively ruined. As Piastri began his final lap, he encountered Lewis Hamilton driving slowly on the racing line into turn 1. Over team radio, Piastri was frustrated. The incident forced him to abandon the lap, leaving him almost 4 tenths slower than Norris. After qualifying, Piastri explained that he had seen Hamilton from the start finish line and expected him to move aside. Instead, he had to follow the Ferrari all the way into turn 1 before giving up on the lap. Hamilton later clarified that it was completely unintentional. Ferrari had become distracted by the yellow flag caused by Max Verstappen's spin at the final corner, and Hamilton only received the warning that Piastri was approaching when the McLaren was already directly behind him. He genuinely believed every driver had already completed their laps. For that, he was being investigated by the stewards. Following the investigation into turn 1 incident involving Oscar Piastri, the FIA ruled that Hamilton had impeded the McLaren during the Q3. The Ferrari driver received a 3 race grid penalty, dropping him from the second to on the grid. Mercedes experienced their most difficult qualifying session of the season. After dominating qualifying for most of 2026, the Silver Arrows simply couldn't match the pace of McLaren or Ferrari around Budapest. Both George Russell and Kimi Antonelli complained throughout the session about poor grip and inconsistent balance. Russell could only qualify 7th. Initially, it looked like Mercedes had simply missed the setup, but after qualifying, the team revealed a much bigger issue. A water leak developed on Russell's car during his final Q3 lap, spraying water directly on the tires. Russell described it as it was like a water pistol spraying at the tires. Instead of helping tires' performance, it reduced grip during the most significant lap of qualifying. Mercedes has since confirmed that Russell's car will receive a power unit change ahead of the race. Even so, Russell admitted that the team probably didn't have the pace to challenge McLaren or Ferrari regardless. Kimi Antonelli initially qualified fourth, however, during his final flying lap, Max Verstappen spun at the final corner, bringing out yellow flags. Despite the yellows, Antonelli improved his lap and lifted. After that, he was reviewed by the stewards. Reviewing the telemetry, the FIA concluded that he hadn't slowed sufficiently under the yellow flags and handed him a three-place grid penalty. Bull also endured a disappointed session. Max Verstappen looked capable of fighting much higher before spinning during the final Q3 run, challenging for pole. He eventually qualified sixth. Isaac Hajar continued his impressive rookie campaign with 8th place, while Arvid Lindblad and Nico Hulkenberg rounded out the top 10. Most biggest positive stories from the weekend came from Aston Martin. After months of struggling, their package finally appeared to be working, and their first appearance in Q2 after 10 rounds. Fernando Alonso qualified P16. The package includes major revision into the front wing, nose, brake ducts, floor, bodywork, rear suspension, and rear wing. Fernando Alonso noticed the difference. He described it a completely different qualifying. That confidence had been missing for months. Alonso explained that in previous races, they knew they would be on the last row, regardless of what changes they made. But in Hungary, the feeling returned. Perhaps even more encouraging is the fact that all of this progress has arrived before Honda's major engine upgrade, which is expected at the Dutch Grand Prix in Zandvoort. If the new power unit delivers as expected, Aston Martin could take another significant step forward during the second half of the season. The FIA penalties completely reshaped tomorrow's starting order. Lando Norris remains on pole, Charles Leclerc improved to second, Oscar Piastri moves up to third. From a starting perspective, this gives McLaren a fantastic opportunity. If Norris gets a clean launch and Piastri can immediately pressure Leclerc from behind, McLaren could control the race from the very beginning. So, after months of Mercedes dominance in Formula One, finally has a new pole sitter. Lando Norris delivered one of the finest qualifying laps of the season. Ferrari proved that its latest upgrades are working exactly as planned. Mercedes looked vulnerable for the first time all year. Aston Martin finally has genuine reason to be optimistic. And with two major grid penalties shaking up the starting order, tomorrow's Hungarian Grand Prix has all the ingredients to be one of the best races of 2026 season. Who do you think wins tomorrow? Can Norris convert pole into victory? Can Leclerc split the McLarens? Or will Verstappen and Mercedes fight their way back to the field? Let me know your prediction in the comments below. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you